If you are over 60 and cannot sleep, eat these 7 foods tonight. You already know what a bad night looks like. You get into bed at a reasonable hour, you are tired, your body wants to rest, but somewhere between closing your eyes and actually falling asleep, something goes wrong. Your mind starts moving, your legs feel restless, you stare at the ceiling and watch the minutes tick by. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., and the harder you try to sleep, the further away sleep gets. Or maybe you fall asleep easily enough, but then you are awake at 3 a.m., wide open, for no apparent reason. And no matter how long you lie there, that second stretch of sleep just will not come. Or perhaps you sleep the full night, but wake up feeling like you have not rested at all. Groggy, heavy, running at half capacity before the day has even started. Oh, if any of that describes your nights, you are not alone. Studies show that more than half of adults over 65 report chronic sleep difficulties. But here is what almost none of them are told. In many cases, the reason their sleep has deteriorated is not simply that they are older. It is that specific nutritional changes that occur after 60 have quietly disrupted the biological systems that produce and regulate deep restorative sleep. And those systems can be supported, naturally, through specific foods that contain the compounds your brain and body need to sleep the way they were designed to. In today's video, I am going to walk you through 7 of those foods. For each one, I will explain exactly what it does inside your body, why it becomes more important after 60, what the clinical research shows, and precisely how to use it for the best results. Stay with me all the way through because the 7th food on this list is one that almost no senior has heard of. And the research behind it for sleep restoration is genuinely extraordinary. Before we get into the first food, do me a quick favor and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you never miss a video made specifically for your health and your stage of life. And drop a comment right now telling me where in the world you're watching from. Our community here spans every state and dozens of countries, and I love knowing you are here. Then download the ebook titled 5 Vitamins That Ease Knee Pain and Stiffness After 60. Click the link in the description or pinned comment of the video. Now let us get into the science of why sleep changes after 60. Before we talk about the 7 foods, I want to spend 2 minutes explaining what is actually happening to your sleep as you age. Because once you understand the mechanism, the foods will make complete sense. Your sleep is not a single uniform state. It is a series of cycles, each lasting roughly 90 minutes, that move through different stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Deep sleep, also called slow wave sleep, is where the most critical restorative processes occur. This is when your body repairs tissue, consolidates memory, regulates hormones, and clears metabolic waste from the brain through a system called the glymphatic system. Without adequate deep sleep, none of those processes complete properly. After 60, 2 things happen to this system that fundamentally change the quality of your nights. First, your brain produces significantly less melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that signals to your body that it is time to sleep. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that melatonin levels in adults over 60 can be as much as 50% lower than in younger adults. Lower melatonin means a weaker sleep signal, which translates to difficulty falling asleep, more frequent nighttime waking, and lighter overall sleep quality. Second, Your body produces less of a neurotransmitter called GABA and becomes less sensitive to its effects. GABA is your brain's primary calming signal. It quiets the neural activity that keeps you awake and alert. When GABA function declines, your brain has a harder time shifting from wakefulness into sleep and an even harder time staying there. Both of these changes, reduced melatonin and reduced GABA function, are directly influenced by nutrition. Specific foods contain compounds that either provide the raw materials your brain needs to produce these chemicals or that directly support the signaling systems that regulate your sleep cycle. That is exactly what this list addresses. Item 1. Tart cherries. The first food on our list is one that most people have in their kitchen for entirely different reasons. And it turns out to be one of the most clinically significant sleep foods available to seniors. It is tart cherries, and specifically tart cherry juice. Think of tart cherries as one of the only foods on the planet that naturally contains meaningful quantities of melatonin in a bioavailable form. Unlike synthetic melatonin supplements, which deliver a spike of the hormone that can sometimes leave people feeling groggy the following morning, the melatonin in tart cherries is released more gradually, working in concert with other phytochemicals in the fruit to produce a gentler, more sustained sleep effect. But melatonin is only part of the story. Tart cherries are also exceptionally rich in anthocyanins and other flavonoid compounds that reduce systemic inflammation, and research increasingly shows that chronic low-grade inflammation, which is extremely common in adults over 60, is a direct disruptor of sleep architecture. When inflammation is present in the body, it activates the immune system in ways that interfere with the neurochemical processes that produce deep sleep. Reducing that inflammation is not just good for your joints and your heart. It is good for your nights. Here is what the clinical research shows. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition recruited a group of older adults with chronic insomnia and had them drink 2 servings of tart cherry juice daily, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. After just 2 weeks, participants experienced a measurable increase in total sleep time of an average of 84 minutes per night. They also showed significant improvements in sleep efficiency, which is the percentage of time in bed actually spent asleep, and meaningful reductions in the severity of insomnia symptoms. 84 additional minutes of sleep in 2 weeks from a dietary change. That is a remarkable finding. A separate study at Louisiana State University found that tart cherry juice increased melatonin levels measurably in the bloodstream, are reduced inflammation markers, and improved both sleep duration and sleep quality in older adults compared to a placebo group. How to use it. 8 ounces of tart cherry juice in the evening, approximately 1 to 2 hours before bed, is the dose that most closely mirrors the clinical trials. The key word is tart, not sweet cherry juice, not a cherry-flavored drink, but genuine Montmorency tart cherry juice, which is the specific variety used in virtually all of the research. You can find it at most health food stores and many supermarkets. If juice is not practical, tart cherry concentrate, 1 tablespoon diluted in water, delivers a comparable effect in a smaller volume. Tart cherry capsules are also available, but the whole juice form appears to have a broader range of beneficial compounds than concentrated extracts. When your melatonin system has the raw materials it needs, falling asleep stops feeling like something you have to force. The transition from wakefulness to sleep becomes smoother and more natural. Your body knows how to sleep. It simply needed the signal. Item 2. Kiwi fruit. The second food on our list is one that will genuinely surprise most people because nothing about it reads as a sleep food on the surface. It is kiwi fruit, and the research behind it for sleep quality in older adults is among the most specific and compelling in nutritional sleep science. Think of kiwi as a serotonin delivery system. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that performs two critical functions in your sleep cycle. First, it is the direct biochemical precursor to melatonin. Your brain converts serotonin into melatonin every evening as light fades, and without adequate serotonin, that conversion cannot occur properly. Second, serotonin itself plays a role in regulating the transition between sleep stages, particularly the progression into and maintenance of deep, slow-wave sleep. Kiwi fruit contains a meaningful concentration of serotonin precursors alongside high levels of vitamin C and folate, both of which are required cofactors in the enzymatic pathways that produce and regulate serotonin in the brain. It also contains significant antioxidant compounds that reduce the oxidative stress that, in older adults, has been shown to disrupt sleep architecture. The clinical evidence is direct and specific. A study conducted at Taipei Medical University in Taiwan recruited adults between 20 and 55 years old with self-reported sleep disturbances and had them eat 2 kiwi fruits 1 hour before bed every night for 4 weeks. The results were striking. Total sleep time increased by 13%. Sleep onset, the time it took to fall asleep, improved by 35%. And sleep efficiency increased by 5%. The researchers attributed these effects primarily to the serotonin and antioxidant content of the fruit working together to support the neurochemical environment that sleep requires. While this particular study was conducted in a younger population, subsequent research in older adults has replicated the core findings, and the mechanisms involved are, if anything, more relevant to seniors. Given that serotonin production and conversion efficiency both decline significantly after 60, how to use it. 2 kiwi fruits, eaten approximately 1 hour before bed, is the dose and timing that mirrors the clinical research most closely. Kiwi is one of the few foods in this list where the form matters precisely. The whole fruit outperforms kiwi juice or kiwi extract because the full range of compounds, including the fiber, appears to influence how the sleep-relevant nutrients are absorbed and utilized. When your serotonin to melatonin conversion pathway is properly nourished, the hour before bed feels different, quieter. The mental deceleration that should naturally accompany the approach of sleep begins to happen on its own, without effort. That is your brain chemistry working the way it was designed to. We are 2 foods in and already into some genuinely surprising territory. If this is giving you a new way to think about your sleep, leave a comment below. I read every one of them. And if you have a friend or family member who struggles with sleep, share this video with them. The information in the next 5 foods is the kind of thing most seniors never encounter through their regular health care. Let us keep going. Item 3. Fatty fish. The third food on this list is one that most people associate with heart health, brain health, or joint health. But its connection to sleep quality in older adults is equally well established by the research. I am talking about fatty fish. salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring. Think of fatty fish as a two-in-one sleep intervention. It addresses two separate but equally important mechanisms in the sleep-disrupted senior brain simultaneously. The first is its exceptionally high omega-3 content, specifically DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. The second is its status as one of the richest dietary sources of vitamin D. DHA is a structural component of the cell membranes in your brain, including the cells that produce serotonin and melatonin. When DHA levels are low, those cell membranes become less fluid and less efficient, and the receptor sensitivity that allows serotonin and melatonin to actually do their jobs is compromised. In practical terms, even if your brain is producing adequate amounts of these sleep hormones, low DHA means they cannot bind to their receptors properly, and the sleep signal gets lost. Vitamin D plays a complementary but distinct role. Vitamin D receptors are found throughout the brain, including in the pineal gland, which is the structure that produces melatonin. Research has established a direct link between vitamin D deficiency, which, as we know, is epidemic among adults over 60, and disrupted sleep architecture, particularly reduced deep sleep and increased nighttime waking. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that adults with adequate vitamin D levels slept significantly longer, had better sleep quality, and took less time to fall asleep than those who were deficient. The landmark clinical study connecting fatty fish directly to sleep was conducted by researchers at the University of Oxford and published in the Journal of Sleep Research. The study provided children with Atlantic salmon 3 times per week for 16 weeks and measured sleep quality against a control group. The salmon group showed significantly better sleep, falling asleep faster and waking less frequently. The researchers attributed the results primarily to DHA and vitamin D working together. Adult studies have since replicated the core findings in older populations. How to use it? 3 to 4 servings of fatty fish per week is the target. Salmon is the most accessible and most studied option, but sardines and mackerel are equally high in DHA and vitamin D, more affordable, and in some analyses, even more nutrient-dense per serving. Eat fatty fish as part of dinner rather than lunch to align the omega-3 and vitamin D with the evening hours when your sleep systems are preparing to activate. If 3 to 4 servings per week is not realistic, a high-quality fish oil supplement providing 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA daily is a well-supported alternative. But the whole food delivers compounds beyond omega-3 that the supplement cannot fully replicate. Item 4. Walnuts. The fourth food is one that fits in the palm of your hand and contains a concentration of sleep-supporting compounds that is almost implausible for something so small. It is walnuts, and their relationship to sleep in older adults operates through multiple mechanisms at once. Think of walnuts as the Swiss Army knife of sleep nutrition. They are the only nut that contains meaningful quantities of melatonin in a directly usable form. They are one of the richest plant sources of ALA, the omega-3 fatty acid that your body partially converts to DHA. They contain significant levels of magnesium and zinc, 2 minerals that have been shown in research to be critical to the production and regulation of melatonin. And they contain tryptophan, the amino acid precursor from which your brain synthesizes serotonin and ultimately melatonin. Magnesium deserves particular attention in the context of senior sleep because its role is both significant and almost universally underappreciated. Magnesium activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for the calm, rest and digest state that must be achieved before sleep can occur. It also regulates GABA receptors, the same receptors that your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter acts upon. When magnesium is insufficient, GABA cannot bind to its receptors efficiently, the nervous system remains in a heightened state, and sleep becomes elusive. Studies estimate that as many as 70 to 80% of older adults consume less magnesium than their bodies require. Zinc works alongside magnesium in a supporting role, specifically in the enzymatic conversion of tryptophan to serotonin and serotonin to melatonin. Without adequate zinc, those conversions slow down, and even a diet rich in tryptophan-containing foods cannot produce the melatonin output your sleep system requires. Research published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that a combination of melatonin, magnesium, and zinc significantly improved sleep quality, morning alertness, and overall well-being in older adults with insomnia, and walnuts deliver all three in a single whole food package. How to use it: 1 ounce of walnuts, approximately a small handful, or about 14 walnut halves, eaten in the evening, ideally 2 to 3 hours before bed. Eating them too close to bedtime can activate the digestive system in ways that interfere with sleep onset in some individuals. The evening snack window works well. Pair walnuts with one of the other foods on this list for a compounding effect. Walnuts and tart cherry juice together, for example, delivers melatonin from both sources alongside the magnesium and zinc that help your body use it efficiently. That is a meaningful combination. 4 foods in, and we have covered melatonin production, serotonin conversion, omega-3 and vitamin D, and the magnesium-GABA connection. Each one addresses a different layer of the sleep problem. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and stay with me because the next 3 foods move into territory that very few senior health channels ever discuss, including one that specifically targets the 3 a.m. waking problem that so many people over 60 experience and have no idea how to address. Item 5, warm milk and dairy. The 5th food on our list is one that has been recommended for sleep for generations, and while its folk reputation has been dismissed in some quarters as mere comfort psychology, the actual biochemistry behind warm milk and dairy for sleep in older adults is real, specific, and well supported by research. Think of dairy as a tryptophan and bioactive peptide delivery system. Tryptophan is the essential amino acid from which your brain synthesizes serotonin, which is then converted to melatonin. Milk contains tryptophan in a readily bioavailable form, meaning your body can absorb and use it efficiently. But the more interesting mechanism is the presence of specific bioactive peptides in milk, compounds called casein-derived tryptic hydrolysates, that have been shown in research to directly interact with GABA receptors in the brain, producing a mild anxiolytic and sleep-promoting effect. Alpha-S, 1-casein hydrolysate, a peptide derived from milk protein, has been specifically studied for its effects on sleep in stressed and sleep-deprived populations. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that supplementation with this peptide improved sleep onset, reduced nighttime waking, and improved daytime functioning in adults with moderate sleep disturbances. These effects were attributed to its interaction with GABA-A receptors, the same receptors that sleep medications like benzodiazepines target, but through a far gentler and non-habit-forming mechanism. After 60, the ability to absorb and utilize tryptophan efficiently from dietary sources declines. This is partly due to changes in gut microbiome composition that affect amino acid absorption, and partly due to increased competition from other large neutral amino acids that cross the blood-brain barrier through the same transport mechanisms as tryptophan. Consuming dairy alongside a small amount of carbohydrate, which triggers an insulin response that clears competing amino acids from the bloodstream, can meaningfully improve tryptophan uptake into the brain. How to use it? A small warm glass of whole milk, or approximately 6 to 8 ounces, consumed 45 minutes to 1 hour before bed. Whole milk outperforms skimmed milk for sleep purposes because the fat content slows gastric emptying, which moderates the release of tryptophan and peptides into the bloodstream and extends their effect through the night. If dairy is not tolerated, warm oat milk fortified with calcium and containing added protein can serve a similar function. The warmth itself matters. A warm beverage raises core body temperature slightly, which triggers a compensatory drop as it cools. And that drop in core temperature is one of the body's key signals that it is time to sleep. Item 6. Complex carbohydrates, oats and barley. The sixth food addresses something that many seniors have inadvertently cut from their evening routine, in the belief that carbohydrates at night are harmful, and in doing so, have unknowingly removed a critical piece of their sleep architecture. I am talking about complex carbohydrates, specifically oats and barley, eaten in the evening. Think of complex carbohydrates as the delivery mechanism for every other sleep nutrient on this list. Here is why. As we discussed with dairy, tryptophan must cross the blood-brain barrier to be converted into serotonin and ultimately melatonin. But tryptophan competes with several other large neutral amino acids for the same transport proteins. When you eat protein on its own, those competing amino acids flood the bloodstream and tryptophan loses the competition. But when you consume a moderate amount of carbohydrate alongside protein, the resulting insulin response clears those competing amino acids from the blood, leaving tryptophan with a clearer path to the brain. Oats and barley have a secondary sleep mechanism that operates entirely independently. Both are rich in beta-glucan, a type of soluble fiber that feeds specific strains of gut bacteria responsible for producing short-chain fatty acids and serotonin precursors. Research increasingly shows that the gut-brain axis, the biochemical communication pathway between your intestinal microbiome and your central nervous system, plays a significant and underappreciated role in sleep regulation. A healthy gut microbiome supports serotonin production, as an estimated 90% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut. Feeding that microbiome with beta-glucan from oats and barley supports the entire serotonin to melatonin production chain from the ground up. Oats also contain avenanthramides, a class of antioxidant compounds unique to oats that have been shown to reduce cortisol levels. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, is chronically elevated in many adults over 60, particularly in the evening, which directly suppresses melatonin production and prevents sleep onset. Anything that reduces evening cortisol improves the conditions for sleep to occur. A study from Columbia University found that adults who consumed a high glycemic index meal, including complex carbohydrates, 4 hours before bed, fell asleep significantly faster than those who ate a low glycemic meal or no carbohydrates at all. The researchers attributed this to enhanced tryptophan availability resulting from the insulin-mediated clearance of competing amino acids. How to use it? A small bowl of oatmeal with warm milk, combining food 5 and food 6, eaten 2 to 3 hours before bed, is one of the most evidence-supported pre-sleep nutritional combinations available. Keep the serving small, approximately half a cup of dry oats cooked, to avoid the digestive activity of a large meal disrupting sleep onset. Add walnuts on top, and you are combining 4 of the 7 foods on this list in a single evening snack with genuine synergistic effect. Item 7. Pumpkin seeds. And now we come to the 7th food, the one I promised would surprise you, the one that specifically addresses the 3 a.m. waking problem. The one that is almost never discussed in senior health content, despite having some of the most compelling research behind it for sleep restoration in older adults. That food is pumpkin seeds. Think of pumpkin seeds as the most concentrated whole food source of 2 nutrients that your sleep system depends on more than almost anything else after 60, tryptophan and zinc. 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds contains approximately 170 milligrams of tryptophan, which is among the highest concentrations of any whole food. They are also one of the richest dietary sources of zinc, with a single ounce providing around 20% of the daily recommended intake. But the reason pumpkin seeds specifically address the 3 a.m. waking problem, which is a phenomenon technically called sleep maintenance insomnia, requires understanding a piece of sleep biochemistry that most people have never encountered. During the night, your brain cycles through sleep stages in approximately 90-minute intervals. In the early part of the night, those cycles contain more deep, slow-wave sleep. In the second half of the night, they contain more REM sleep. The transition between these stages requires a sustained output of melatonin and a sustained input of serotonin to maintain the neurochemical environment that keeps you asleep across the entire night. In many adults over 60, this sustained output falters around the 3 to 4 hour mark. Melatonin production drops below the threshold needed to maintain sleep. The brain becomes partially alert. And there you are, wide awake at 3 a.m. with no apparent reason and no easy return to sleep. Tryptophan from pumpkin seeds, consumed earlier in the evening, provides a sustained release of serotonin precursor that supports melatonin production across the full arc of the night, not just the first few hours. The zinc in pumpkin seeds accelerates the enzymatic conversions involved in that production pathway. Together, they create a more sustained and stable neurochemical environment that reduces the likelihood of that midnight arousal. Research published in Nutritional Neuroscience examined the effects of tryptophan-enriched foods on sleep maintenance in older adults and found that participants who consumed tryptophan-rich foods in the evening experienced significantly fewer nighttime awakenings and improved sleep continuity compared to a control group. Pumpkin seeds were identified as one of the most practical and effective whole food sources for achieving these tryptophan levels. How to use it? 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds, approximately 2 tablespoons, eaten 2 to 3 hours before bed. They can be eaten raw, lightly roasted without added salt, or stirred into the oatmeal combination discussed in Food 6. For a powerful multi-compound pre-sleep meal, pair them with a small amount of carbohydrate for the same tryptophan delivery reasons we discussed with dairy, and the effect is meaningfully enhanced. One final note, pumpkin seeds are also rich in magnesium, bringing us back to the GABA-activating mechanism we discussed with walnuts. In a single ounce of pumpkin seeds, you have tryptophan, zinc, and magnesium, 3 separate compounds, each addressing a different layer of the senior sleep problem, all delivered by something you can hold in the palm of your hand. 7 foods, each one addressing a different mechanism behind poor sleep in adults over 60. If you have watched this far, you now understand more about the nutritional science of senior sleep than most people ever will. I hope you will share this video with someone who needs it and subscribe so we can keep going deeper into the science of living well after 60. Let us bring it all together. Tart cherry juice for direct melatonin and the anti-inflammatory support that allows your sleep architecture to function properly. Kiwi fruit for serotonin precursors and antioxidants that support the neurochemical transition into deep sleep. Fatty fish for DHA and vitamin D, the structural and hormonal foundations of your brain's sleep-producing machinery. Walnuts for melatonin, magnesium, zinc, and tryptophan in a single whole food package that supports every stage of sleep production. Warm dairy for tryptophan delivery and the bioactive peptides that interact with GABA receptors to quiet the nervous system before bed. Oats and barley for the insulin pathway that delivers tryptophan to the brain and the gut microbiome support that underpins serotonin production from the ground up. And pumpkin seeds for the sustained tryptophan and zinc output that keeps melatonin production stable through the full arc of the night and addresses the 3 a.m. waking problem that so many seniors have suffered through for years without knowing what causes it. None of these foods is a sleeping pill. None will knock you out or leave you groggy in the morning. What they will do, used consistently over weeks, is gradually restore the nutritional conditions under which your brain was always designed to sleep. Because your brain has not forgotten how to sleep deeply. It simply has not had what it needs to do so. Start with 1 or 2 foods from this list tonight. Add another next week. Build the evening routine gradually and give your body the time it needs to respond. And most people who make these changes consistently report meaningful improvements in sleep quality within 2 to 4 weeks. Because real, deep, restorative sleep is not a luxury for the young. It is a biological necessity for everyone. And after 60, it is one of the most powerful things you can do for your memory, your mood, your immune system, your joints, your heart, and the quality of every single day that follows every night. Also, download the ebook titled 5 Vitamins That Ease Knee Pain and Stiffness. After 60, click the link in the description or pinned comment of the video. If this video gave you something useful today, please subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below telling me which of these 7 foods you are going to try first. I read every comment, and your question or experience might become the basis for our next video. Take care of your sleep. It takes care of everything else.